Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of The Big Boys. I'm Tolly Carr, along with Uncle Neely and Coach Carl Reed. He's our college football analyst from 24/7 Sports. Guys, we all saw it. The country saw it. It was not pretty. Oregon just mollywops Colorado on their home field. It was the Pac-12 opener. Guys, we talked about it coming into out of the game against Colorado State. It was a win. We saw some struggles there. We knew that the offensive line play was going to be critical. And Carl, man, Oregon really exploited that offensive line. What are some of the things that they did well to get to Shedeur Sanders 7 times on Saturday?
They just completely dominated up front. They were able to get a lot of pressure by bringing an extra defender, and they were able to get to him with a 4-man rush also. What it showed is that Colorado still has a way to go, and the only way that you can address that is through recruiting. They have to improve up front on the offense and the defensive lines where championship-level football is won.
Yeah, Carl, you're spot on once again, my brother. You know, the thing is, you still have to coach these guys up. You still have to demand more and get as much as you can out of them because you cannot continue to have a quarterback the caliber of Shedeur Sanders, still leading the nation in many categories, still a Heisman hopeful. You can't have him on his butt 8 and 7 times a game, and that's happened twice this season. And I'm here in the offensive line room in Colorado just for that reason, you know, to bring attention to that we have to have better offensive line play. In the short term, you know, there's some guys that we got to rotate in and out that have to get better at their assignments and recognition of what's coming at them. But the long term is just like you said, when you get your season started and you're having personnel issues, that's an off-season matter. You know, that's getting the right guys in here on OVs, on official visits. That's getting the right guys, you know, out of the portal when the portal opens up. That's where you're really going to see a change in his offensive line play. And it's something that Coach Sanders, Coach Prime has not shied away from. He has maintained for us to compete at the level that he wants to, which is to win a national championship. We're about 7 to 8 players away, and most of those are in the trenches.
Carl, let me ask you this. I don't know football nearly as good as you. I make sure to make that a point every week. But I'm watching the game, and I see Shedeur Sanders, you know, take the snap. He's in his drop back. If you got pressure coming up the middle, I have confidence he can kind of work around that, you know, work around that guy. But when your escape route is also closed because somebody is coming off the edge as well, is there anything we can expect him to do in those scenarios?
Well, the hardest place to take pressure from is in the middle of the field, those A gaps and those B gaps. If the pressure comes from there and it makes you go to the outside, those are the hardest things to develop, especially depending on what side of the field you're on. But like you said, if the pressure's coming from the middle and you vacate the pocket and then they're also closing on you in the edge, you don't have many options. And so what also happens is it forces you to either take a sack, throw the ball away, and with the intentional grounding rule as well, you got to be careful in some of those scenarios of throwing the ball away. So it's not leaving you a lot of options when you're getting pressured like that.
Yeah, we're going to have to, you know, make sure that when it's available, Coach Reed, is to put that ball in the 3rd and 4th row of the stands because there's some situational football that comes to mind where taking that sack, you know, can get you out of field goal range. Taking that sack can severely inhibit the playbook because now instead of 3rd and 3, you're 3rd and 19 because you were running straight back and taking a sack. All of that is a byproduct, though, of what Oregon was able to do. They took away those underneath routes with some linebacker play, and Shedeur was forced to wait on something to develop downfield. Well, in that 2.5 to 4 seconds it takes for something downfield, you know, you got 3 or 4 guys weighing 280 pounds in his face. And that happened time and time and again. Even when he wasn't sacked, the pressure was there. But one thing I liked about his play with that pressure, you know, didn't throw an interception, man. He still took care of the ball and got it where he could get it when need be. And he stood there and took that pressure and stared it down at times to continue to try to make plays for the team. But it is no doubt about it. Anyone who knows football, ever watched football, or has a care about football knows that this O-line in Colorado has got to play better. And not just for Shedeur Sanders, but, Carl, we got to get a running game going.
They also have to play better for themselves. You know, whether you're talking about Shedeur, whether you're talking about being able to run the ball, you still are Division I football players. So even though that there's situations where you got to recruit better. You have to have some accountability, man, and some toughness and some fortitude on yourself on just wanting to play better for yourself also.
I was saying, Neely, that you read my mind because this is what I was going to ask you and Carl. I mean, are opposing teams at this point lining up saying, I know they got some speed backs back there, but we're not worried about them running the ball against us?
Absolutely. When you get to this point in the college season, man, this is the end of September. We're past mid-September. You count in a week 0, we're going to the 4th game. There are people going into the 5th and 6th games now. And one thing that affords you is film. And I've told you before, Tolly, the best indicator of future performance is past performance. So you better believe that they're going to see some things on film that each week they think they can capitalize on better. And they're going to bring the kitchen sink and everything they can at this Colorado O-line schematically because they see that there's a deficiency there.
And right away, too, what it does with also having Travis Hunter out, you can defend the run with 5 guys and you can drop everybody else in coverage. And you can play underneath, you can play over the top. It allows you to do some things if you're not nervous at all about the run game. So that's something that has to be addressed, and that's something that has to be considered. And so with them getting such a light box, you would hope that they can get some things going in the run game.
All right, and I'm not trying to pile on here. I really love when you guys first educate me and then educate our viewers out there. There was one instance where the running back was trying to block on a safety blitz, and the announcer, really brought it to light. He's like, look, if that guy's coming with a 15-yard head start and you're, right there, like that's a hard thing to block. Like this guy with the head start and you're just right there. And the ability to constantly bring that type of pressure, it just makes it hard, man.
It's hard, but it's your job. And this is big boy football, and this is the highest level of college football that can be played. And so if guys have aspirations to play beyond college, that's a play that they have to make.
Man, Carl, you gave me chills when you said that because it attached to your earlier comment. It's about personal pride, personal accountability, and just simply do your job. You have had all season to get stronger, get faster. You can't put this on Coach Mo Sims. We know what his strength and conditioning program is like. You can't put this on Coach Flea. I'm just talking about the running back example that Tolly gave. You can't put this on Coach Flea. This comes down to individual effort, individual want to. And it's the same thing not only in pass protection, if you will, but it's the same thing in running the ball. It has to be a personal desire that I'm going to get these 3 and 4 yards. You cannot successfully keep the defense honest and you're only averaging less than 2 yards per carry in your run game.
Man, Carl does not play the radio. I will not come with any excuses for anybody for the rest of the show. Carl shut that down like right out of the gate. All right, let's talk about being a man and manning up. Here, break it down for me, guys. When I looked at the game on Saturday, it appeared to me, now there could be something that I'm just missing. It appeared to me that the running backs for Oregon had more "you're not going to tackle me" spirit than the Colorado players had "I'm going to bring you down" spirit. I just saw it. What it appeared to me is some guys just running through tackles when it was man against man.
Running the ball is an attitude. It's an attitude. It's a mental disposition. It's an orneriness. It's a toughness for running the football. No matter how you draw it up, you have to be able to run through tackles. You have to be able to run through defenders. You have to want to stick your nose in there. It's a want to thing. And now the offensive line has to create some running lanes for you also, which is also a disposition. It's a want to. It's just a certain level of physicality that you want to play with if you want to run the ball.
And Carl, I'm going to take the juxtaposition to that, to Tolly's point, and talk about the defensive side of it, addressing Oregon and their successful runs. If you sit there and you watch the plays and you really look at what was occurring, they got multiple yards after contact, after second contact. We just did not tackle well. And more times than not, the team that wins is going to be the team that blocks and tackles the best. This is still 11-on-11 football. You gave the example of somebody coming up the middle of Deion Sanders. 11-on-11, his job is to make the first person miss. But when there are 2 and 3 people coming, that means somebody else didn't do their job. Well, you can flip that over and you get a tackle, and one thing that Coach Prime preaches is everybody get to the ball. So you got a guy that's got to the ball, but there's no backup with him, and the guy's going 5 and 6 yards after contact and extending drives. That just is not allowable. I don't care if it's middle school in West Jackson, Mississippi, all the way up to big boy ball in the Power 5. You have got to wrap up and bring the offense down at that point of contact, man.
And it really hurts on third down. There were some third down plays there. I remember one with I think Cameron Silman Craig. Like, he had him, like he was right there, and it was just that split second where, and you go from potentially getting the team off the field to they got a first down and moving the chains. Speaking about moving the chains, Carl, let me throw this to you. The RPO worked really well for Oregon and Bo Nix. Why was that on Saturday?
He did an excellent job reading it. He also had his offensive line had control of the game, which makes it even more deadly. So when you have to add numbers to the box to be able to try to aid in stopping the run, it opens those RPO routes up in a major way. So because his offensive line was able to control the game, it forces Colorado to have to add extra defenders to the box, which opens up even bigger lanes and easier reads for the RPO game.
And let me take that can of whipped cream and hit that nozzle and just take some around that beautiful double scoop that Carl just gave us. Because when you bring in those extra defenders and they lack eye discipline, the RPO works even better. You have to, at some point in the game, Carl Reed, you got to be prepared to be bored. Sometimes as a linebacker, you got to stand there. You got to just chop your feet. You got to watch and have good eye discipline and stop guessing. Because you guess the wrong way, there goes the play for 20 yards the opposite way. And there were several times that schematically we had guys that were there, but they were in their wrong position or lacked eye discipline. And that's something that Coach Charles Kelly, defense coordinator, has preached since they got on the plane to come back to Colorado all through Sunday's teams meetings is, guys, discipline ain't doing what I tell you to do. Discipline is not doing what you want to do just because you can do it. You know, you have to be able to be disciplined out there and let plays develop, engage, and look instead of just guessing and running around with poor eye discipline.
You guys talked about something last week in that Colorado State game. They had that little underneath pass, and you guys talked about, well, defensively you have to, kind of give up something that suits you better than opposed to, giving up something longer in that situation. With the effectiveness of those short passes, those screens, the RPO, how much of that, if any, was, Colorado giving that, or did Oregon just dictate every single thing offensively?
Well, from the very beginning, Oregon imposed their will. When you can control the line of scrimmage, you're going to be able to do everything that you want to do offensively. You can run the ball. You're protecting your passer so he can throw the ball and has the time to throw it wherever he wants to throw. You can RPO it. You can run screen passes both on the perimeter and in the middle of the field. So when the offensive line is in control of the game, you have a full menu of plays you can go, and it makes it much tougher for you to defend.
Yeah, Tolly, I don't want to sit here with my next comment and suggest that somehow Oregon did not play a beautiful game and just kick our butts. That's far from where my next comment is going. But when you really look at the film and unravel, you had about 5 plays, maybe even 4 plays that really were the cause of the game getting away from you. Keep in mind, man, most of the first quarter was 7-0. Then you got 13-0. You're not out of this ball game. But you look at that fake punt and able to score off of that and get the 2-point conversion. You look at another time they were down in the red zone and you had them stopped on 3rd down. It would have been 4th and 2. And again, now this is early in the game. There's no way they're going for that. They're going to take that field goal. But once you stop them, you get a silly post-play penalty that extend the drive and they get a touchdown on. Now it's 21-0. And so just a couple of plays really turned the dynamic of this game. And then it turns the way, Coach Reed, you know better than anybody, the way you have to call the game. Because now you're calling the game to catch up because the clock is an enemy as well. Versus when you were in the game at 7-0, 13-0. And those were just penalties that extended drives, for tackling that extended drives. And then it led to a butt whooping. In the early part of this game, as dominant as their offensive line was, Colorado was nowhere near out of competing and winning this game.
When you look at that fake punt, Carl, is that something where Oregon says, all right, I see how they're lined up, they're vulnerable for this? Is it just a bit of a gamble play? Like, what causes a coach, in general terms, to call a
It's
fake
definitely
punt?
something that you see that you feel like you can take advantage of. And then when your defense has control of the game, you're not really concerned about them getting the ball back and scoring. You feeling like your defense can stop them on a short field. So you saw something on the numbers game where you probably got an extra defender or extra blocker or two on that side. And so it was open and you take advantage of it.
And Carl, let me say this to you, brother. To add on to that once again, there was a little pinch of disrespect in there as well. They were on their 17-yard line when they did that. And it was early in the game when they did that. So there was something physically out there that they were seeing and feeling that even if this fails, we believe we can hold them to 3 points. And, it's 13-3. There was nothing about that choice that said, well, they might get 7 points out of this. There was some testicular fortitude, if you will, that caused them to go for that play in that situation from their own 17-yard line that early in the game. But I will submit to you that is truly where the game took a pivot, and it was hard for us to come back from that.
Yeah, that Neely, what an already loud crowd. What did that play do? Just being there, like as far as amplifying what you were feeling.
So all week long, Colorado Buffaloes practice with simulated noise in practice because everybody knows that Austin Stadium is loud just in its design. And one thing about those fans, man, they don't go out there on secondary market selling their tickets. Like, they're going to be in their seats and they're going to be color coordinated and they're going to be making noise. So our true chance to take that crowd out of it was to stop plays and make plays. Keep in mind, it was 3 and out when the game started. It's like it was working. It could have worked. But when that crowd got into it, man, which each time they had success and that damn duck got to doing his skits and clowning, there was no turning back, man. Home field advantage has an impact and crowds have an impact. You could feel the momentum just shift to that side of the field. And you could also have that sinking feeling on your sideline that, oh, man, we're in trouble. These guys are much better than we are. And that's what started to unravel. And one of the words from Coach Prime to after the team when they got back to Boulder on that Sunday was, hey, guys, now we got to answer the bell. Now we got to see who really wants to play football or who really is here to play some football. Some of you guys out here just trying to have fun with this thing, and this is serious business. We got to get up off the mat and answer.
Carl, what type of challenge? How do you challenge players when you take one on the chin like that and you got to come right back? And I mean, you're not going from from Drago to a tomato can. You're going from Drago to Creed to Clubber Lang. Like, it's going to be a murderer's row here in the next couple of weeks.
This is Neely said it just best just now. You got to answer the bell. This is when you separate the pretenders from the contenders, the guys who really want to be football players and guys that are just there because it seems like a really, really cool thing to do. You have to play football, and football, no matter what it is, no matter whether you running or throwing, it's going to come down to blocking and tackling. The physical components of the game are going to always be there. And so one thing about the football season is this. You don't have time to feel sorry for yourself. As soon as you get out of one fight, when you wake up, it's another one right around the corner, looking you right in the face. And so we'll see what you made out of as an individual and as a team as you march forward.
Absolutely.
So, look, you got Caleb Williams coming into Boulder, Colorado. He's your reigning Heisman Trophy winner. What type of challenges? Bo Nix is great. He played a great game. Caleb Williams is the guy, one of the guys for sure. What type of challenges does he present to your defense?
He presents a load of challenges because he can make every throw, and he also can run. If you take any of the throws away, he can run. He can run off schedule. If he gets pressured, he can tuck it and run if routes aren't open. And he can do design runs where he's acting as the rusher himself. So he has a complete game, and he brings a lot of challenges.
Yeah, and the upside, Carl, is that he's facing a team that has a quarterback with those same kind of attributes. We just got to protect him. I think that this is a game of matchups. And I think that there's some favorable things on our side of the ball. I think that, this is a week that we can keep Shedeur upright, and not get those 8 and 7 sacks, per game like this been occurring. And if we give Shedeur Sanders a chance, he's going to be able to match and or exceed everything that Caleb does on the other side of the ball. All eyes are going to be on this game for a couple of reasons. You got two previous Heisman Trophy winner, and now both of them from each team are being mentioned for it this year. But also, man, when you come off a loss like you just did, and you have the gravitas and attention that a Deion Sanders Coach Prime commands, more people are going to be tuning in now than ever because they want to see not only how he responds, but the haters want to see if he's going to lose again. And so now is your chance, going back to what Carl's been saying about physicality and doing your job and accountability. Now is your chance to prove that Oregon was an anomaly. Don't let it be you. Don't you be the guy. Do your job. Do your 1-11, and Colorado Buffaloes will be fine.
Carl, we like to talk X's and O's and a little culture as well. And culture from this standpoint, the country is a lot of favorability towards Colorado, but there's a section out there that's like, knew that was coming. How do you sense the, away from the field, just the vibe of Colorado taking a loss and then having to try to come back and get it on track?
People hate winners, and winning hurts people's feelings, right? And the kind of shadow that Deion Sanders puts on the country is very similar to what Allen Iverson was during his time, or Michael Jordan, or LeBron James. Even Tebow mania, when Tim Tebow, and he might not have been the same players that those guys I mentioned were, but he had a cult-like following as well. And that bothers people. And when people get celebrated in that way, it hurts other people's feelings, and they want some of that attention for themselves. So I think that from that standpoint, as long as Coach Prime is coaching, he's going to always have a huge following, and he's going to have supporters that are happy when he wins. But he's also going to have a lot of haters that want to see him fail at every step he takes.
Yeah, and he will tell you, Coach Reed, that he's built for it. This ain't his first rodeo. Mm-hmm. He is used to, accustomed to, and dealt with being the center of attention, whether it's love or hatred, from most of his young adult to adult life as a premier athlete in the United States. The thing that we have to recognize here is the guys that he's recruited, the guys he's coaching up, the guys he's teaching, how used to it are they? How do they respond to the scrutiny? Can they put the phones down and not be impacted by X, formerly known as Twitter, or what they're seeing on Instagram with memes about this loss? Can they get up and answer the bell and follow the example of their head coach, and he blocks out the noise and he turns the noise into fuel for whatever he's trying to do? And that's what's going to happen to these guys, because, you were riding a wave 3-0, and who doesn't want to be 3-0? And then you take your first loss in conference on the road, and it's by 30 plus 36 points or more. It makes you look in the mirror. And Coach Prime has challenged them when they got back. No, look in the mirror. See who you are. Be honest with yourself. Go watch film. Are you that guy? Was that your best? Can you do better? Now, will you do better? Because more people are going to be watching you at the USC game than watching you at the Oregon game, because they want to know these answers.
So Coach Prime is not a flush the film type of coach at all, Neely.
Oh, not at all. When they got back here, man, they watched it. They had to look at it. The special teams watched it. Each defensive unit with Charles Kelly watched it, down to their position group. Same with offense. And you ain't just watching it. It's a highlighted circle around you. And it's watching what you did or didn't do. And it's a discussion about, was that your best effort? Do we see on games what we see in practice? And will we see in practice what we're going to see on games? And you have to be honest with yourself and address it with the coaches and your teammates. And then after that, you move on, because when Monday and Tuesday gets here, that's completely over. It is time for the USC scouting report and time for the USC installs and getting ready for that game. But you have to have some form of evaluation, man. You have to be honest with yourself and see, can you do better? And Coach Prime has told his coaches, if they can't do better, get the next man up and give him a chance to do better, and we'll address what doesn't get better after that in the offseason.
This is going to sound like a simple question, but I'm just going to ask it. Is the best way to prepare for Caleb Williams having to go against Shedeur Sanders every day in practice?
It could be, but also you can't have your starting quarterback going against your first team defense and exposing them also. But there are certain passing periods and things that you can do to have him throwing the ball at your defense to give you some type of preparation against a passer of the highest level.
Now, Carl, once again, Coach Reed, not just Carl, because this brother knows what he's talking about. You are exactly right. When you get out there and you have the ones versus the twos, or twos versus ones, defense, offense, one of the things Coach Prime puts a premium on here at Colorado as well as Jackson State, and that's the scout team, man. He demands that they give the right looks. He demands that they give the intensity. He demands that they don't cut deals. So you don't sit there with the twos on defensive line going against the ones offensive line. They push each other. Hey, man, stop hitting me so hard. He wants them to give the look that they're going to experience against USC. Well, people will say, oh, well, damn, Neely, didn't y'all do that to prepare for Oregon? Yeah, we did. But you're also talking about a team that's 3-1. We can't let this one loss derail what happened the first 3 weeks. We have a formula here that even with an offensive line that could and should play better, even with a defensive line that for 1 or 2 games didn't do a lot of damage on the other side line of scrimmage, don't discount the fact, Carl Reed, that those were victories. We were 3-0 going into Oregon, so this team has to remember what they did to get those 3 wins and stop looking at what caused that one loss.
Carl, what's something that you're going to be looking at, like really focusing in on as a key to victory, a key to playing better, a key to competing in the game against USC this weekend?
I'm going to be looking at the offensive line. USC is not as formidable on defense as Oregon is. They have several holes, but I'm going to be looking at the offensive line. You have Deion Sanders, one of the top players in the nation. You have a chance to win any game that you can protect him and give him time to throw the football. But if you're not going to give him an opportunity to throw, then your chances of success, they get cut in half. And so right now, what I really want to see is just a complete effort, a level of toughness, a level of mental identity, a level of assignment focus from the offensive line and the running backs in pass protection.
I love that answer, Carl Reed. I totally agree with you, and it would have been mine had I been asked first. But since you gave that brilliant response with the O-line, let me pick another group. I'm going to put it on the defensive line because I want to make sure that we take away USC's ability to run, whether that's the running backs or the quarterback. If we're going to get beat by Caleb Williams, we can't let him beat us with his legs and his arm. Pick a poison. You force him to be a runner or you force him to be a passer. Don't let him choose what he's going to be because he's going to be everything and he's going to punish you. So I need the defensive line to show up and make plays on their side of the line of scrimmage. Don't let that offensive line push you back. You need to push them back into his lap. And let's take our chances with our secondary downfield and the linebackers clean that up.
Well, fellas, thanks as always for making it another great episode of the Big Boys, like real talk, not because you all are just here. This is like one of my favorite 30 minutes of the week, just to sit down, just ask dumb questions and get all these beautiful, smart answers from the guys who are experts at X's and O's, and you too, Neely, as well.
I keep my guard up, man. Protect yourself at all times. I knew something was Tolly, something was coming, Tolly. But let me tell the fans out there of the Big Boys what's coming. Don't want to steal his thunder, but this week, Carl Reed is going to be in Boulder, Colorado as we prepare for USC. So if you like this show, you better tune in next week post USC because he's going to be watching practice and all those things. And if you think he got some insight from afar, what do you see he breaks it down when he's really here?
Hey, looking forward to it. Safe travels to you, Carl. Hope you make sure Neely takes you out, man. Make sure Neely treats you well while you're there.
And the key to it is not just that he takes me out, is that he swipes his credit card.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean by take care of you. Yes. Do not let Neely slide. All right. It's the Big Boys. Hopefully not the cheap boys. We'll find out next week. All right. You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys.